This week on Jerusalem Dateline, Israel pauses to remember the Holocaust, but new reports show anti-Semitic attacks are on the rise, especially in America and Europe. And a California synagogue is attacked, killing one. Where will it end? Plus, the Bible, Israel's deed to the land. All this and more this week on Jerusalem Dateline. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Julie Stahl, filling in for Chris Mitchell. Israel marked Holocaust Martyrs and Heroes Remembrance Day in memory of the 6 million Jews killed by the Nazis in World War II, as well as those who fought back. But this year's ceremonies came as reports said anti-Semitism is once again on the rise worldwide. Sirens blared, calling Israel to a halt for 2 minutes in honor of the memory of the 6 million Jews murdered in the Holocaust.
It's our first time being here during the Holocaust Memorial, and it was very powerful. It was something that we've never seen, and that everybody groups together as a country, which was pretty amazing.
I was praying for peace and everything, and I was thinking about all of the Holocaust and the victims.
All the world, we need to remember this day, but I'm very sad that every day I think the memory is going and going down. So my children don't know nothing about the Holocaust.
These brothers from California said they didn't study about the Holocaust in school, but they knew what it was about.
We freeze. Because remember of the Jews that were in the war that died, so it doesn't happen again. My dad just told me about it, and also I think of my great-grandmother, Babi Ida, who survived the Holocaust.
Events began the previous night when the Israeli flag was lowered to half-mast at Yad Vashem's Holocaust Memorial in Jerusalem. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Reuben addressed the opening ceremony of Holocaust Martyrs and Heroes Remembrance Day. Both spoke about growing anti-Semitism and the need to fight it.
We live in a paradox today. The worldwide admiration for the Jewish state is accompanied in certain circles with the rise of hatred of Jews. The radical right, radical left, and radical Islamic groups agree on only one thing: hatred of Jews. This is not a legitimate criticism of Israel, but a systematic, poisonous, and shallow hatred that constantly undermines the legitimacy of the Jewish nation state and only the Jewish nation state.
Political forces where anti-Semitism and racism are part of their language, their legacy, or their ideology can never be our allies. There is no such thing as loving Israel and hating Jews, just like there is no such thing as loving Jews and hating Israel.
Israel remembers the Holocaust every year according to the Hebrew calendar on the anniversary of the 1943 Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. Though the Jewish fighters were almost all killed, it marked a shift in thinking from victim to fighter. Later, it helped shape Israel's national identity, symbolizing strength and the fight for freedom in the face of death. Israel is calling on the world to take renewed action against anti-Semitism. This comes after a spike in hateful acts, including the recent deadly attack on a U.S. synagogue, the second in just 6 months.
Barely 6 months ago, we saw the worst attack on Jews in American history. We spoke about it right here. From the Tree of Life synagogue in Pittsburgh to the Chabad synagogue in Poway, California, anti-Semitism is no longer a fringe bigotry in the U.S.
Israel's UN ambassador, Danny Danon, spoke just days after a 19-year-old gunman fired on worshipers in the Chabad synagogue in California, killing one woman and injuring 3 others. It was eerily similar to the October tragedy in Pittsburgh, where another lone gunman attacked a synagogue, killing 11. Both had posted anti-Semitic remarks online prior to their actions.
Then, as now, all the right people are saying all the right things. They express their sympathies and call for an end to this violence and bigotry. But it seems we have learned nothing from the Pittsburgh attack, and we're likely to continue to do nothing following the attack in San Diego.
Danon wants action, saying the time for just talk is over.
Those who engage in anti-Semitism must be punished. Whether it's here at the UN, political leaders, or college professors, it doesn't matter. Until it becomes criminal, this bigotry will persist.
Meanwhile, the Anti-Defamation League released statistics showing that anti-Semitic acts in the U.S. alone more than doubled in 2018. American Jews say the Jewish community must be brave and careful.
I think we always have to be vigilant. Needless to say, to be American and Jewish, it's an incredibly comfortable thing. This is the greatest place in the world to be if you're Jewish, but doesn't mean that everyone in the country necessarily feels that way.
We have to protect ourselves and our family. And when we go to synagogue, particularly during high holidays, we now have security, and we are I'm always looking around to make sure that I recognize most, if not all, the people in the synagogue.
Researchers at Tel Aviv University confirmed the spike on a global level.
We have seen among Jews worldwide, but especially in Western Europe and in Northern America, a rising concern, a rising feeling of insecurity, a feeling of doubting their belonging to their place, of being part of society around them, and of the political parties they used to be part of.
Professor Dina Porat says this puts a tremendous stress on the Jewish people. She cautions against reports that indicate attacks might be decreasing.
There is more protection of sites, of community centers, synagogues, etc., and less Jews. And this is, I would say, a tragic phenomenon.
For now, vigilance is the answer. But in the long run, authorities must find a way to uproot anti-Semitism and stop it in its tracks. As we said, just days before Holocaust Remembrance Day, a lone gunman attacked the Chabad synagogue in Poway, California. Here's CBN's Jenna Browder with the story about the attack.
President Trump called Rabbi Yisrael Goldstein to offer his condolences. At a vigil Sunday night, the rabbi said he was touched by the president's words. He then went on to describe the attack and the heroism of some of his congregants.
Unfathomable, where I faced death face to face.
The rabbi, who was injured himself, describes the moment the accused shooter opened fire.
I see the shooter standing there in position with the rifle, moving it towards me.
He says it was a miracle the shooter's gun jammed, and credits members of the congregation for risking their lives to stop the attack.
Gushing blood and stuff. And he was like screaming my dad's name.
The youngest victim, 8-year-old Noya Duhan. 60-year-old Lori Kay died. Friends say she stepped in front of the rabbi to stop the gunman.
He dropped his weapon and he ran out, and I chased him out of the sanctuary.
Witnesses say 19-year-old John T. Ernest was chased out of the synagogue by 2 worshipers, including an off-duty Border Patrol agent who opened fire as he drove away, police arresting him about a mile away. Earlier, in a letter posted online under his name, he says he wanted to kill Jews and praised the gunman accused in both the Pittsburgh synagogue shooting and recent mosque attacks in New Zealand. Police say Ernest is also being investigated in connection to an arson attack at a California mosque.
We forcefully condemn the evil of anti-Semitism and hate, which must be defeated.
I think there's something particularly onerous about being gunned down in your place of worship.
This says anti-Semitism is on the rise in America and worldwide. Just this weekend, the World Jewish Congress calling out the New York Times for publishing a cartoon in its international edition showing Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu leading a blind President Trump. Tweeting, the New York Times has crossed a red line today by publishing a cartoon infused with anti-Semitic tropes. The New York Times issued an apology. Michael Rydelnik, whose parents survived the Holocaust, is an expert on anti-Semitism at the Moody Bible Institute.
It's like a contagious disease that's always under the surface, and sometimes it spurs up into epidemic proportions, and then sometimes it recedes.
For young Noya, whose family recently moved from southern Israel, where her village was subject to rocket attacks from Gaza, and saw her home in California vandalized with anti-Semitic graffiti,
I don't really feel safe.
And the rabbi with this message.
Terrorism will not win, but peace and love will.
Ernest has been charged with murder and will likely face federal hate crime charges as well. In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
As President Trump prepares to release his Israeli-Palestinian peace plan, probably next month, the United Nations Under-Secretary General for Political and Peace-Building Affairs briefed the Security Council on the situation of the Palestinians. She blasted Israel for expanding Jewish communities in Judea and Samaria, but Israel's UN ambassador Danny Danon said that Israel's claim to the land is based on 4 pillars, including the Bible.
From the book of Genesis to the Jewish exodus from Egypt, to receiving the Torah on Mount Sinai, and to the realization of God's covenant in the Holy Land of Israel, the Bible paints a consistent picture. The entire history of our people and our connection to Eretz Israel begins right here.
Danon said the other 3 pillars for Israel's claim to the land are history, international law, and the pursuit of peace and security. Coming up, a look at the people in the Holocaust through the letters they wrote.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs, from health to entertainment, you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place, from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Check your local listings or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
CBN Israel, standing with Israel and blessing God's people. Join us. Get breaking news from the Holy Land. Witness biblical history uncovered. Learn the true story of Israel through groundbreaking films. Help Holocaust survivors and other Israelis in need. Be part of the redemptive story God is telling through His chosen people. CBN Israel. Together we will stand. Join CBN Israel today.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Protect your sleep and live your best life with innovative information from 5 leading sleep experts.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
Discover a sleep-enhancing bedtime routine, how to put insomnia to rest, learn how to relieve pain that disturbs sleep, and much more in Protect Your Sleep.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Don't miss out on this brand new series.
Talking about the Holocaust and the slaughter of 6 million Jews by the Nazis and their collaborators can be a daunting subject. It's often hard to grasp the reality of each person's story, their lives, family, hopes, and dreams. Several online exhibits from Israel's Holocaust Museum aim to tell those stories. CBN's Scott Ross visited Yad Vashem in Jerusalem to tell us about one of them.
My dear Rosie, I am happy that you received our greetings. What are you up to, my darling? Be well. Many kisses from your mother.
In every letter at the beginning and at the end, she wrote, "Make sure to take care of your health."
That's the final letter Rosie Yoshkovitz received from her mother, Berta.
Each story is unique. In those online exhibitions, we're telling stories first to commemorate the victims, to give them back their names, human dignity.
Yona Kobo oversees the new exhibit, Last Letters from the Holocaust, 1943.
The letters were chosen because they are very intimate, very personal, very unique, because each handwriting is different from one person to the other. You can find stains of tears of those who wrote the letters and tears of those who received the letter.
When you read these letters from mothers, fathers, children, what does that do to your heart?
Sometimes it's tearing me apart. Sometimes I'm crying.
How were they delivered? Was there a post? There was no postal service.
The post service worked the entire war. even in the camps.
Censorship.
Sometimes not. I think they censor themselves.
Kobo gave us an extremely rare look at Yad Vashem's vast archives, where I saw some of the actual letters. What does this say?
That was written by a child. She was almost 12 years old. Her name was Regina Folkenflick, and she was living at East Poland. She was hidden at a Christian family. Her parents thought that was the best way to save her, by putting her in a good family. But the child was shot. The rest of the family survived. And her brother, now 84 years old, donated the letter to Yad Vashem. It's in Polish, and she's writing, "Dear mother and father and dear Dolik," her brother, "be well. Mommy, don't be upset. Please forgive me, Mommy, for writing so little."
And here's another one.
That is another one, written by a young woman, 19 years old, Rosette Bomblat. She was active in a group of underground movement in Paris. She helped saving other Jewish children. Her family was hidden in a village not far away from Paris. And Rosette is writing here in French, "I'm only living for the day that we will be together again." All the family, except of Rosette and her oldest sister Sarah, survived and emigrated to Israel.
She didn't?
She didn't. She was transferred to Auschwitz. She was murdered in the camp.
What about your family?
My mother was born in Germany, and she has been through a ghetto, a labor camp, and a very, very long death march. She marched 800 kilometers by foot. My father survived Auschwitz. And they met after the war was over. And when I was older, like 35 years old, my father remembered to tell me his secret. He was a widow when he met my mom. He lost his first wife and baby daughter in Belzec. I just recently found the name of his daughter.
This online exhibit is just one of many at Yad Vashem, the main collection of Holocaust documentation in the world.
So one of the main missions of Yad Vashem is to collect into one place all the documents, all the evidence about the fate of Jews during the Holocaust. It was the first intention of Holocaust survivors the first day after the war was ended.
Dr. Chaim Gertner is director of the archives.
We understood that the Nazis not only planned to murder the Jews, but also understood or wanted to annihilate, to erase our ability to know who were they and what happened to them.
Erase their memory.
So this is why Yad Vashem decided as one of its most important missions to collect all those pieces of huge puzzle of our joint history into one place.
The more than 200 million pages of documentation includes testimony, survivors' stories, photos, and other personal items.
We launched 7 years ago a national campaign. We call it Gathering the Fragments. We met until now close to 11,000 people who donated to us during the last 7 years more than 124,000 items and collections.
And are there many survivors living today that have seen this, been here, and experienced this?
Yes, Holocaust survivors do see Yad Vashem as the home of their items, and they say here it will be kept forever. He will preserve it. And I may tell you the story, for example, of this sweater over here.
Yes.
That was donated to us on the first day of this campaign 7 years ago by a lady from Tel Aviv. It was belonged to her sister. So for her, it took a lot of time to decide to separate with that.
The name Yad Vashem comes from the Bible. It means a memorial and a name.
Yad Vashem during the last 2 decades and more is struggling to tell the story of individuals in the Holocaust. They were human beings that used to live in Europe and elsewhere, and they had lives, they had kids, they had dreams, and it tells us also something about their ability to survive during those years in those inability times.
How important is it to have all this online?
Around 1 million visitors are coming to Yad Vashem every year. Almost 10,000 of them are visiting our reading room every year. But last year, more than 19 million people all over the world, Jews and non-Jews, used our databases online.
Because you're around this and have explored this and researched it, do you become jaded at all? I mean, it has to affect your heart.
I am a son of a Holocaust survivor myself.
I was going to ask you that.
I think that as an educator, our mission here to educate the next generation is what gives us the strength to think ahead, what to do with that story for generations to come.
Scott Ross for CBN at Yad Vashem in Jerusalem.
Up next, see how the world's leading Jewish humanitarian organization is helping others around the world.
A historic bond between the Jewish people and the land of Israel cannot be broken.
Now on Blu-ray or DVD, the new CBN documentary special, The Hope, the Rebirth of Israel.
History is knocking on the door. Things are changing.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/Israel The Hope to receive your copy of the CBN documentary special, The Hope, the Rebirth of Israel, for a gift of $10 or more. Now on Blu-ray or DVD.
Once he declares the state of Israel, they're all going to come after us.
Go on an extraordinary journey as Gordon Robertson explores the founding of Israel and meet the heroes who made history.
The United States recognizes the new state of Israel.
The Hope, the Rebirth of Israel can be yours on Blu-ray or DVD for a gift of $10 or more. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com/Israel The Hope. Call now.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times best-selling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts, in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain, get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
The American Jewish Joint Distribution Committee has been around for 100 years, helping those in need around the world. CBN's Wendy Griffith sat down with JDC head David Shizer to hear more about who they are and what they do.
The American Jewish Joint Distribution Committee, or JDC, is the world's leading Jewish humanitarian assistance organization. JDC is at work in more than 70 countries, feeding the hungry and helping those in hardship or danger. Here now to tell us more about the work of the JDC is its CEO, David Shizer. David, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Wendy. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, a lot of people have not even heard of JDC, so tell us a little bit more about your organization. It's been around for 100 years, is that right?
Absolutely. We were founded just at the beginning of World War I. Wow. The American ambassador to the Ottoman Empire, Henry Morgenthau, became very worried about Jews who were living in what was then Palestine. And he sent a telegram to friends in New York saying, we've got to do something to help these people, and so JDC was born.
Well, JDC has projects going on all over the world. One interesting project is helping Ethiopian farmers. Tell us about that.
Ethiopia has 99 million people, and 80% of them make their living through agriculture. So farming is a crucial part of life in Ethiopia. The good news is that Israel has developed all kinds of exciting technologies to enhance crop yields. And so what we're doing is we're bringing this expertise to Ethiopia.
You also do a lot of work with poor Jews in the former Soviet Union. Tell us what you do there.
So these are the poorest Jews in the world, and there are 93,000 people there that we help with food, medicine, and home care. About half of them are Holocaust survivors, and so we are the care provider for the Claims Conference, which provides Holocaust restitution, and we also help another 50,000 people. But if you think about it, these people are living on pensions as low as $2 a day, and without the food and medicine and home care that we provide, many of them wouldn't be around.
Now, JDC also responds to disasters wherever they strike around the world, is that right?
We do, and unfortunately what we know is that there are hurricanes and typhoons and earthquakes happening all the time, and it is a privilege for us to be a part of the global response, because the idea is you got to help these people, and our special focus is not just on the immediate reaction, but on the whole recovery effort, because after the cameras are gone and after the world has moved on, people have to be there in order to help people there in these places rebuild their lives, and that's what we do.
David Schizzer with the Jewish Joint Distribution Committee, the JDC. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Wendy.
Still ahead, we head to the streets to ask Israelis if there's hope for the future.
Prophecy thousands of years old,
We were called to be a light to the world.
being fulfilled today. Discover how. Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life. Just call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he have, which color he is. This is what I'm doing.
See how the people of Israel are fulfilling prophecy
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
by sharing their knowledge
In Africa, in Asia, in South America, in East Europe.
and their love.
This is how we work. This is us.
Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Reuben, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to cbn.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
The memory of the Holocaust, coupled with anti-Semitic attacks on synagogues and elsewhere that we're seeing today, can be frightening. So do Israelis and Jews have hope for the future? We asked.
Absolutely, 100%. Having been here now for my 26th trip, these Israelis are wonderful people, and their history won't let them fail in the future.
I hope so. For my son, I hope so.
Yes, I really hope for the future, for a good future. And I really believe that we can make it. We have the social media, and we have a lot of things that we can make the world better, Be'ezrat Hashem, in the help of God.
That's all for this edition. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And remember, the God that's watching over Israel, and you and me, neither slumbers nor sleeps. I'm Julie Stahl. We'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.